if you've been following the channel for a little bit of time, you'll know that my name is Kelly and I'm with Black Sheep Fiber Emporium, and I like to teach a lot of different things: knitting, tatting, crochet, spinning, weaving, sewing, embroidery. We do a lot of different things on the channel. But I finally have enough of the small Clover tatting Picot combs to demonstrate both the small and the large, because you all have been buying them so fast that I didn't have a chance to even test out the small comb before I had to send it out. So today I want to take a look at the small Picot comb, the large Picot comb, the Picot gauge set, and these do come in a couple of different colors. I think this one's the only one that's still available right now, but this is a Picot gauge set from Clover. And then I also wanted to take a look at, let me grab it, the Handy Hands. And this one does happen to be an old one. They don't make it quite in this style anymore. Now it comes in a much prettier color. But this is a tatting needle and Picot gauge as well. So just run along one edge instead of having them all separate. So I wanted to take a look at 3 different methods of measuring your picots. And so that's going to be our combs, our lovely gauge, and the gauge set. So we're going to take a look at those. I'm going to flip the camera down and we're going to... Okay, so I've gone ahead and wound up a little bit of Olympus. This is the medium tatting thread size, and it's somewhere around a size 40. And then I went ahead, and this is some Lisbeth in some size 80. So I've wound on like a yard in both of these. Now we're going to start with the large Picot comb, which is supposed to be rated for like 10 through 50, size 10 through 50 thread, versus the small comb, which is supposed to be for your 60 to 100. Although I suspect that the 40 would work okay with this one, so we're going to try that as well. So this, again, very similar to a size 40 thread. So when you open the package on your Clover Picot combs, they actually come on a little insert, and then they have some instructions. And the instructions are in Japanese. But what I love about most of the Japanese instructions is beautiful, beautiful diagrams. So it's actually really easy to get an idea for how to use these. And then in addition to that, there's some nice little patterns so you can practice with your Picot combs to really get the best use out of them. So several patterns, which is really nice. So anyway, you can kind of see there's sort of like 2 recommended movements with this in terms of how you measure out your picots. So I'm just going to dive right into it. I've played with the large comb before, although it's been a while, so I'm not entirely sure I remember how, but we're going to try it anyway. All right, so I've got 2 stitches on here, and now I'm going to hold my comb. It helps if you don't get your comb caught. Hold my comb, and I am going to go from the bottom. So let's see. I need this space here, and let's say I want to do 3. This will be easier. There we go. Like this. Okay, you know what? I'm doing that wrong. Let's try again. Let's put this behind. There's always a little bit of, well, just a little bit of me trying to figure this out. There we go. Say I want to do 3. Oh yeah, that's nice. Okay, so the second half, and now let's do the first half. There we go. It's very helpful if you can sort of lay your Picot comb so that There we go. So that your comb and your stitches can kind of run like right under your comb. And also I think having my ring a little smaller would be very helpful. But as you can see, you just sort of lay them on. Now that I've got a couple in, it's really easy. And I can make my ring bigger. And I'm kind of just doing 3, 4, 3, 4. There's probably a faster way to do this, but again, I haven't really fussed with it enough to get proficient. And it would help if I would, there we go. Yeah, 3. And let's do another 4. Oop, that's a 5. There we go. 4. Nice. And let's do one more 3. There we go. And I'm just going to go ahead and make a second stitch here and pop it off. Let's see how I did. Doesn't look bad. Looks pretty, yeah. Well, 3, 4, 3, 4. Reasonably flat. And they look pretty similar. 3, 4, 3, 4. Nice. Okay, so that is the large comb with the size 40. And now that I have my feet back under me, let's try the small comb. Let's make another ring. And I have a feeling that it will still work with the size 40, and it might feel better, just simply because the comb's smaller. Just the comb is just a little smaller. So I'm going to hold my comb in here, and then I'm going to do the same pattern. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And of course, the picots are going to be shorter than on the large comb because the large comb does have larger tines on it. That's okay. So there we go. Lay in a 3. And you can clearly see that it's shorter than the 4. And then do a 4. Anyway, I think the small comb's working fine with the 40. It's definitely going to be shorter picots because you can clearly see 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's our 4th tine versus, I mean, they're clearly taller, but you could just use 5 tines instead of 4 and get a similar effect. But I think it works just fine with the size 40. I don't have any issues with the 40. It's a little easier to hold because it's smaller, of course. So, you know, definitely some advantages there. So I can see why you might just like having the smaller one better. All right, let's do one more picot. There we go. And so here's my picots all lined up on my comb. And I need to do one more stitch to close this ring because I did a 2-stitch start, so I'll do a 2-stitch end. Pop the comb out. And let's close our ring and see how it looks. Not bad. So I can see I've got some twisting on here for sure. I'm sure that has to do with how I am holding my ring thread and my comb. So I would definitely have to figure out what I am doing with these picots where they're popping up twisted. But there we go. You can definitely use the 40 with either the large comb or the small comb. So that's the size difference. This one uses 3 and 4 tines, and this one also uses 3 and 4 tines, but you can clearly see that the picot length is different, and that is because our tines are much larger on the large comb versus the small comb. So there's that. Now let's see. Let's do this guy. We're going to do, this is the old one, so they do have an updated version of this tatting needle and picot gauge from Handy Hands. So again, I just want to say this is an old version. And we're just going to kind of do the same thing. So 2. All right. And then I guess we will use, I don't know, the one above the 3/8 inch maybe. This is always the hardest part, by the way, is getting this very first picot started. But let's see. Let's use this one. Come here. You. Come on. I'm trying to lay it in so that it's similar to the other one, but it doesn't want to go that way. There we go. All right, down around that one. All right, so there's the first one. Then we got to pop that off. And now let's do our next picot. And I want it on the 1/4 step. So line that up, make the second half, pop this out. Now I can definitely see that the picot gauge, the comb itself, the picot comb was faster. This is definitely not as fast. Part of it could just be I'm not used to using a picot gauge. Ooh, and that one was not the same size. That's probably a user error. Oops. Gotta open that back up again. Hang on. So there we go. And let's see, I need the 1/4. All right. Definitely works. Nothing wrong with this picot gauge at all. The weird wrong size is, like I said, I'm sure user error. Because again, I don't use picot gauges very often, although I kind of like that comb. That comb was kind of nice. There's that one. We'll do one more. And do it on the 1/4. All right. There's that one. All right. And one more stitch to close the ring. So here's this guy. So I still managed to achieve one twisted picot. But there we go. So this is the large comb, which even with my fumbling was faster. The small comb and the tatting needle and picot gauge. And now let's grab 2 of the picot gauge set. And before I totally run out of thread, oh yeah, it's trying to run out of thread. Hang on, guys. There. Before I totally run out of thread, we will test this one. Okay. So 2 stitches like I've been doing. Oh, all right. We're going to finger tat this one. So we'll use the number 7. Now this one I could see if you were just doing a whole bunch of picots of the same size. I could see it being very handy to have the individual pieces versus the comb. But you know, the comb was still fairly handy. Let's see, I gotta take this one out now and put the number 5 in. So we've still got a little lag because we have to switch back and forth between the individual gauges. But, you know, they definitely work. There's nothing wrong with them. It's okay that it's slower. If that's what you like better, that's fine. They definitely work. My picots are different sizes. My 5 is still kind of the same size as that 7 though. Here, let's do another 5 and see if I can make it smaller. And there are, so the one disadvantage to these is that there's kind of 2 ways to use them. And see, look, I'm getting kind of the same size, honestly, on the 5 versus the 7. I must not be putting them in quite the same. I always like to go this way when I'm using these pieces. I know a lot of people prefer to do them upright, so more like this, and let the thread come up over both sides, which is probably the correct way to use them. Definitely makes a larger picot when you do that. I don't know why, I just like to lay them in flat. But anyway, here we go. I'll do another 5, even though I did 2 7s in a row. Let's snug that 5 down. Come on, 5, snug down. There we go. Yeah, user error. You gotta make sure that you snug it all the way down. All right. And there is our last little tatted flower. So this is a 7-5, 7-5, 7-5, 7-7-5, but with different ways that I was making them. So there's our 4 flowers, the 4 different methods. So we did this one here, this one here. This was the small comb. And then this guy is the large comb. So yeah, I like the combs. They definitely work. Takes a little getting used to, but I think if I was practicing with these more, they'd be really fast. So that was our size 40. And now let's take a look at the 80. Why not? So half the size, very fine thread. And this is Lisbeth, I do believe. Yeah, this is Lisbeth 80. I don't think it's going to work very well with my really large comb. But we're going to try it because we can. So let's do a 4 and then a 3. And then a 4. I am definitely getting the hang of this. It's much easier to hold this in my hand than it was when I first started this a few minutes ago. Let's do a 4. And a 3. And oops. There we go. No, no, no. Get down under there. There we go. Okay, so I've got 5 picots on there. We're just going to go with that one. And pull this off. I think it's interesting that they kind of sit to the side. So I'm probably not doing something quite right because I'm twisting my picots at the base. So I'm definitely doing something a little bit not quite right when I'm making these on the comb. But I'll have to explore that. But anyway, so that's the large comb. Let's try the small comb and see if I can figure out what I'm doing. Must be something with how I'm flipping the thread. So I'll just do this with the small comb. Now this is the one that it's actually meant for. Remember, this was ours, 60 to 100 size thread. This 80 is not really meant for the large comb. I think you can use the large comb just fine. I mean, it just makes bigger picots. I don't think it's a huge deal. So when I lay this on here, there's gotta be something. Maybe I'm supposed to put them on like this instead of... That is easier. Let's see. I think I've been doing it wrong where I was bringing the front leg over. It's much easier. Or the back leg over. It's much easier using this front leg and putting it up top. Yeah, that's a lot easier. Okay, well, now we know. Definitely want to use the front leg in front of the comb on your first half. But wow, this is pretty fast. This is pretty fast. Okay, let's pull the comb out. And hopefully my picots will not be twisted this time. So let's see. No twisted picots! Look, I twisted the first one because I was setting it on the wrong way. All right, that is the answer to why the picots are twisting. So when we're using the comb, it's important that as you put that stitch on, that the front leg crosses like this over the comb. Good to know. All right, I don't think that I need to use my separate gauges or my integrated picot gauge for the size 80 thread because you clearly know how this works. But I do think it's really important to note that, again, if you are going to be using this comb, it's very important, which I was not doing, and that's why my picots are twisting. Very important that as you go to put your stitch on, that you take the front half versus the back half of your stitch and use that on your comb. So again, front half. So I was definitely doing it wrong. Front half. And we'll see. This should hopefully mean that all of my picots will be flat and twist free. Let's do one more. I gotta say though, I like the ease of measuring out, you know, different sizes on these combs as well. It's kind of nice. And I'll just close this up here, pull this out. And, yep, that's the key. Just gotta make sure that I'm not twisting my picots. Look at how pretty all those picots are. They're all the same size. I might be a convert. I might have to keep one of these in my tatting all the time. Look at this, they're beautiful. I love that. I love that. It's tiny, it's delicate. You can really see that they are all the same size. Sweet. All right, yep, I definitely like these combs. I knew that I liked them when they came out, thought they were really interesting. I'm very thankful to Patty Duff for turning me on to these. Really, really nice little combs. Yeah, definitely going to be playing with these combs in the very near future. Okay, so I like these Picot combs, I gotta say. I've never really been one for measuring my picots, but when I did, I usually used my Handy Hands gauge because it's small, it's easy to pack, but honestly, this is small and easy to pack. I really think that you could honestly use the large or the small picot for most of your thread sizes. You know, it's kind of nice to have both because you can see I definitely got larger picots on this one versus this one, and you couldn't use the small one with the size 10 thread very well. It would definitely open your comb more. But I think, you know, if you were doing 40, even though this is supposed to be 60 and smaller, I think that you could easily use your 40 with this, maybe even your 20. I'd have to test it with the 20. The large comb, though, you can definitely use even with the size 80 thread. I mean, it's a little more awkward because the comb's bigger, clearly. But not bad at all. And I gotta say, you know, these have never been my favorite. I do own a set, but they've never been my go-to Picot gauges. I'm not, like I said, I don't usually measure my Picots. I'm kind of a tat and go kind of person. The only time I've really measured it is when a pattern called for it. But I have to say, I am really impressed with these adorable little combs, and I'm really glad that I have a pair now. I'm going to have to start using them. So anyway, love the combs. They're a lot of fun. Just make sure that you are setting your stitch leg on correctly so that your picot doesn't twist. That was the mistake I was making in the first part of the video, was I was putting the leg on wrong. So anyway, and there is a handy little guide that comes in here, and it does actually tell you which direction that leg should be on there. So just saying, like, even though you can't read the directions, you can kind of read the directions. Anyway, yeah, love the small picot comb. I'm so glad I finally have one. Yee. Okay, I was a little too excited about that, but yee, so glad I have one now. I kind of just want to pick up my tatting and go play with tatting now, but I have other things I need to do tonight. So I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you for watching my video, for checking out how to use the picot combs. I hope that my little comparison showed you the different ways that you can use picot combs, a picot gauge, and individual ones. So anyway, if you were curious about those tools, hopefully this gives you a little idea of how they work. As I always like to say at the end of my videos, please take care of yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, and craftually, because if you're watching this video, you are a crafter. And that means that 15 minutes of crafting a day can really help your mental well-being. I know that it helps mine. And if you haven't yet done so, please make sure that you have liked the Black Sheep Fiber Emporium Facebook page, that you are following us, that you have liked and subscribed to our Black Sheep Fiber Emporium YouTube channel, and that you're following us on Instagram and TikTok as well. We are just in all of the social media places because we like to reach all of our wonderful friends and customers in any way that we can. So until next time, please take care of yourself. Bye.